Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. Good morning. It's Thursday, the 10th of December. So, a new deadline has been set for an agreement about a post-Brexit deal. This after a meeting between the Prime Minister and the President of the European Commission failed to break the deadlock.
Discussions will continue today. Downing Street says a firm decision about the future will be taken by Sunday. But it warns that major differences remain between the two sides. This report from our political correspondent Jessica Parker contains some flashing images.
Let's talk to our Brussels correspondent. It was very intriguing just seeing Ursula von der Leyen and Boris Johnson just negotiate how to put masks on and off. It's going to be very interesting to see the mood, because didn't she describe it as lively there in their meeting last night? Authorities in the United States have launched a major lawsuit against Facebook.
So let's have a look at the weather. Carol's at the glorious Kew Gardens this morning. You've got to enjoy it while it's still dark, because what we got another hour or so. So got to enjoy it while it's still there.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Carol. We'll see you later.
See you in half an hour. It's 11 minutes past 6. Let's take a look at today's papers. Brexit. It might make you feel queasy. It might just make you go, oh, isn't that lovely?
Well, I hope they're all okay, is what I'm hoping, maybe.
Yes.
Here's a story about Dusty Springfield. Sadly, we don't have any Dusty Springfield to play.
Something different to surprise a fan. Do you remember? It was a few years ago. Adele turned up to like an Adele lookalike or mimicking Adele, and she turned up and all dressed up and surprised one of her fans doing that very same thing.
If I show you
but
this,
I think she was fine financially.
We'll do a compare and contrast. There's Dusty Springfield holding her guitar, challenging to take on the tube or on the train. Right up there.
I always used to feel very sorry when I used to go to music school. I used to feel very sorry for the cellists.
That's right.
Lugging around their cellos.
Yeah.
Time now, 16 minutes past 6. Now, a father and son who survived a motorway crash on New Year's Eve almost 2 years ago are trying to track down the people who saved their lives.
Gary, who's from Bradford, blacked out and lost control of his van while driving on the M6 near Stoke-on-Trent. He was later found to have a brain tumour.
Now, Hayden, who was 11 years old at the time, managed to call 999 to get help. Olivia Richwald has been talking to them.
Well, absolutely. Well said, Hayden. Gary as well, Dad, Dogbuster. We'll be talking to them all just after 8:30 this morning, just to hear a little more about the story. And obviously trying to raise money now, apart from anything else, trying to raise money, which is fantastic. What a young man that is.
It is fabulous. Good to be able to tell the story. Let's talk about one of the most divisive figures on the high street in recent years. Mike Ashley's retail empire has grown to include department stores and high-end clothing shops.
Today we're learning a bit more about how his business is coping and if it could be about to step in to save Debenhams. Well, all credit to the teachers who have done it all throughout, done an amazing job, not least with just making children feel more secure.
Absolutely. It is 26 minutes past 6. It's time to find out what's happening wherever you are in the country, and we'll see you shortly.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Good morning. It's just 6:30. Thanks for joining us on the programme today.
Let's bring you right up to date with the main stories this morning. Brexit negotiators will have until Sunday to decide whether a trade deal with the EU can be achieved.
The United States has recorded more than 3,000 coronavirus deaths in the past 24 hours, the highest total so far in a single day anywhere in the world.
Always interesting, isn't it, hearing directly from GPs about how it's going to work in practice.
It must be, still must be quite exciting knowing if you're prepared to take the vaccine and you want to take the vaccine, you obviously want to move on out of this phase we've been going through, this horrible phase. It must be quite exciting to know that you're in line for it.
Absolutely,
soon.
when the call comes in.
Yeah.
So time now is 6:37. Mike, take us away to the side, please, so we can enjoy the...
She couldn't resist but being there. How pretty.
We were at Kew Gardens all morning this morning, so what do we think? About 7:30, the light starts to change, so get the best of it now.
Sunrise, yeah, absolutely. Carol will be back, of course, with the headlines and at 7:15. First, discussions between the Prime Minister and the European Commission President are said to have been frank and lively. Read into that what you will. But a dinner between them last night still hasn't brought agreement.
Talks about post-Brexit trade will now continue until Sunday. Let's speak to a journalist with Die Welt newspaper, which of course is a German newspaper, just giving a sense of perspective there about how it's playing elsewhere.
8 minutes to 7 is the time. Morning to you. It should be busiest time of year for Britain's theatres. Most, though, still unable to open their doors. But for some performers, the show will go on.
If you can't go to the musical, one company is bringing the musical to you. David Silito went to see the first performance on a very damp suburban street.
I've been racking my brains about what to get you for Christmas. That's what's going to happen. On your doorstep, they will be turning up.
That would be a wake-up call, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I'll book it for extra early as well, on the day off.
Wow. 6:56, that means it's time to get the news, travel and the weather, where you are. Headlines in a minute. Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. Good morning, it's Thursday the 10th of December. A new deadline of Sunday has been set for an agreement over a post-Brexit deal. So this is after a meeting between the Prime Minister and the President of the European Commission failed to break the deadlock.
Discussions will continue today. And Downing Street says a firm decision about the future will be taken by the end of the weekend, but it warns that major differences remain between the two sides. This report from our political correspondent Jessica Parker contains some flashing images.
Take care. The big night out will tour the country from September next year, as you heard. Need to tell you, actually, in the next hour, we've obviously heard that the first vaccines have been administered. Thousands, we understand, have taken them. Lots of questions are coming through as well, because developments will happen throughout the day. So we've got panel with Dr. Chris Smith, who you do know. It's a familiar face here, the virologist, and Dr. Penny Ward, who's a professor in pharmaceutical medicine. So there's still time if you have any questions you want to get them through to us. We've obviously heard that there's been a couple of, if you have experience of severe allergic reactions, you're now being advised by the MHRA not to take it. And we'll also go through just the basics that you might not remember, just like its efficacy and when it becomes effective and how many you have to take as well. So all of that at 8:10.
Yeah, we know from past experience that those sessions, a couple of experts and lots of questions, it's well worthwhile.
They're very straight talkers as well, which is always good. Headlines are going to come up at 8 o'clock. We'll see you then. Good morning. It's Thursday, the 10th of December. A new deadline of Sunday has been set for an agreement over a post-Brexit deal. This after a meeting between the Prime Minister and the President of the European Commission failed to break the deadlock.
Discussions will continue today, and Downing Street says a firm decision about the future will be taken by the end of the weekend. But it warns that major differences remain between the two sides.
Let's talk to our political correspondent. Okay, so Layla, what we understand is a decision will be taken about whether there can be any progression by Sunday. Yes? Greater Manchester Police has been accused of letting down vulnerable victims of crime by failing to record 80,000 offences in a year.
An experimental rocket belonging to Elon Musk's SpaceX company has exploded while attempting to land.
The 16-storey-high Starship rocket was being tested as part of the company's plans to eventually carry people and cargo to the moon and Mars. It was uncrewed. Tanya Dendrinos reports. Take care, look after yourselves. You would look rather fetching in a nice little Santa, you know. Yeah,
8:35 the time now. Captain Tom's goal to walk 100 laps of his garden before his 100th birthday inspired many of us during the first lockdown and raised nearly £40 million for charities.
When news came of another nationwide lockdown last month, the veteran decided to start walking again. And this time he asked the public to join him to combat the tough times ahead and to become fundraising stars themselves.
Breakfast John Maguire has to meet some of those who've been...
Captain Tom, always inspiring, isn't
I know, and it's like a legacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it keeps, you know, every time we do a story like that, someone else is going, do you know what? I'll do this. It just keeps happening.
He can do it, I can do it, yeah. It is coming up to 20 minutes tonight. Remarkable story to bring you now. New Year's Eve, we'll take you back to New Year's Eve 2018. Gary was driving along and he was with his son. He was on the M6. He was with his son Hayden and the dog Buster when all of a sudden he blacked out and he lost control of the van.
So today he's launching an appeal to try and find those who saved him, the emergency workers. Hayden was only 11 years old at the time but managed to call 999 for help. I think we can hear a little bit of that call right now.